The Parthenon marbles, also known as the Elgin Marbles, are a collection of classical Greek marble sculptures made under the supervision of the architect and sculptor Phidias and his assistants. They were originally part of the Temple of the Parthenon and other buildings on the Acropolis of Athens. The collection is now on display in the British Museum, in the purpose-built Duveen Gallery. From 1801 to 1812, agents of Thomas Bruce, 7th Earl of Elgin, removed about half of the surviving sculptures of the Parthenon, as well as sculptures from the Propylaea and Erythraeum. The marbles were transported by sea to Britain. Elgin later claimed to have obtained in 1801 an official decree from the Sublime Porte, the central government of the Ottoman Empire, which at that time ruled Greece. This firman has not been found in the Ottoman archives despite its wealth of documents from the same period, and its veracity is disputed. The Acropolis Museum displays a portion of the complete frieze, aligned in orientation and within sight of the Parthenon, with the position of the missing elements clearly marked and space left should they be returned to Athens. In Britain, the acquisition of the collection was supported by some, while some others, such as Lord Byron, likened the Earl's actions to vandalism or looting. Following a public debate in Parliament and its subsequent exoneration of Elgin, he sold the marbles to the British government in 1816. They were then passed into the trusteeship of the British Museum, where they are now on display in the purpose-built Duveen Gallery. After gaining its independence from the Ottoman Empire in 1832, the newly founded Greek state began a series of projects to restore its monuments and retrieve looted art. It has expressed its disapproval of Elgin's removal of the marbles from the Acropolis and the Parthenon, which is regarded as one of the world's greatest cultural monuments. International efforts to repatriate the marbles to Greece were intensified in the 1980s by then Greek Minister of Culture Malina Mercouri, and there are now many organizations actively campaigning for the marbles' return. Several united as part of the International Association for the Reunification of the Parthenon sculptures. The Greek government itself continues to urge the return of the marbles to Athens so as to be unified with the remaining marbles and for the complete Parthenon frieze sequence to be restored through diplomatic, political and legal means. In 2014, UNESCO offered to mediate between Greece and the United Kingdom to resolve the dispute, although this was later turned down by the British Museum on the basis that UNESCO works with government bodies, not trustees of museums built in the ancient era. The Parthenon was extensively damaged by earthquakes. Also, during the Sixth Ottoman-Venetian War against the Ottoman Empire, the defending Turks fortified the Acropolis and used the Parthenon as a castle. On the 26th of September 1687, a Venetian artillery round, fired from the hill of Philippappus, blew up the Parthenon, and the building was partly destroyed. The explosion blew out the building's central portion and caused the cellar's walls to crumble into rubble. 3 of the 4 walls collapsed, or nearly so, and about 3/5 of the sculptures from the frieze fell. About 300 people were killed in the explosion, which showered marble fragments over a significant area. For the next century and a half, portions of the remaining structure were scavenged for building material and looted of any remaining objects of value. In November 1798, the Earl of Elgin was appointed as Ambassador Extraordinary and Minister Plenipotentiary of His Britannic Majesty to the Sublime Porte of Selim III, Sultan of Turkey. Before his departure to take up the post, he had approached officials of the British government to inquire if they would be interested in employing artists to take casts and drawings of the sculptured portions of the Parthenon. According to Lord Elgin, the answer of the government was entirely negative. Lord Elgin decided to carry out the work himself, and employed artists to take casts and drawings under the supervision of the Neapolitan court painter, Giovanni Lucieri. According to a Turkish local, marble sculptures that fell were being burned to obtain lime for building. Although his original intention was only to document the sculptures, in 1801 Lord Elgin began to remove material from the Parthenon and its surrounding structures under the supervision of Lucieri. Pieces were also removed from the Erechtheion, the Propylaea, and the Temple of Athena Nike, all inside the Acropolis. The excavation and removal was completed in 1812 at a personal cost to Elgin of around £70,000. Elgin intended to use the marbles to decorate Broomhall House, his private home near Dunfermline in Scotland, but a costly divorce suit forced him to sell them to settle his debts. Elgin sold the Parthenon marbles,